Yeah, I'd like to first congratulate Josh Cribbs and Webster Slaughter for being added to the Browns Legends. Their induction, I think, is awesome. Congratulations to them. Two great additions. So this week, we're wrapping up our off-season program. What we did this week was this is week 10 for us, and we had a big team meeting on Monday, really had the administrative meeting, if you will, and knocked out a lot of housekeeping issues, kind of setting the guys on their way into this break before training camp with a lot of information. So we did that on Monday, and then what we did also was we scheduled an exit meeting with all the players, all the veterans, that is, Monday and Tuesday. So gave the veterans off Wednesday and Thursday. Really, after their exit meeting, they were free to go. With the rookies, just kept meeting with them like a normal week, and then we're conducting exit meetings with the rookies today. And I just think it's important with the exit meetings just to review this offseason, review their performance, make sure they know our expectations for them going forward, have some feedback on things that they want to work on over the next few weeks, and really just set them into this break with some things on their mind, that ways that they can get better, and make sure that they use each one of these days as an opportunity to get better. So really pleased overall with the work we were able to get done. Credit goes to the position coaches, the coordinators, to the players themselves. I really think these guys, they attacked this thing, and that was great to see. The coaches put out a lot of content, more than I'm sure they've ever done before. So they'll be ready to speak at any clinic come next year. They'll have plenty of content for those. But really, and the players, we required them to do the workouts and send the video of the workouts in, and they did a great job. And just the message of seeing some of our guys lifting in their garage, or seeing a player, I don't know if this is safe, but seeing the player bench press and having a white cooler on either side be his bench rack was pretty cool. From a message standpoint of whatever it takes, these guys are willing to do to put the work in. So credit to our players. But successful offseason, and I will take any of your questions. I am operating under that assumption. And I just think for us, all offseason long, we've had a plan, and then we're ready to pivot. So we have a plan for the players to get back up here. We have the vets coming on July 28th, the rookies and the quarterbacks and injured players coming on July 24th. And if we hear differently, we'll pivot, and we'll adjust when we get that information. Yeah, I think if that does happen, we'll be ready. I think obviously you want reps for your players from a learning standpoint. You want reps for players from an evaluation standpoint. But I'm sure that whatever the rules are, they'll be the same for all 32, and we'll deal with it as it comes. Yeah, I've really encouraged our players to stay safe, and that's from the moment we started talking to these guys back in April. I've told them that the number one priority is their safety and their family, and we want to make sure that we're here for them, providing any resource for them. I've reminded them ad nauseum to wash their hands and social distance, and really heed the advice of these experts. So I'll just continue to make sure that these guys are knowing that they are being encouraged to stay safe while they're out of this building, in this building. We want to make sure that they're staying safe. I'll talk to those guys. Again, it's their off season. We can't really direct them to do anything football wise in this break. So I'll talk to them and just reiterate that I want those guys to stay safe. Yeah, I not that I know of in terms of anybody testing positive. I will say this, I'm optimistic, and I'm also going to follow the advice of Dr. Sills, and I think we have some really smart people on the case here. So I'll just continue to do my part and lead this team. Well, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. So whatever comes our way, we'll be ready. And I think for us, I understand why that may be a concern for some, but we're just going to plan with what's in front of us. And right now for us, that's July 24th for the rookies and the Qs, and then July 28th for the vets. And if we hear otherwise, we'll be ready to pivot. Daryl, I wish I knew. That's one of my questions. I don't know. And again, that's okay. We have a plan, and then If that plan won't do, another one must. So we'll be ready. Uh, I know this. Whatever the rules are, I'm ready to abide by them and adhere them. I don't know what it's going to look like. I know what our rules are right now in our safe return to work. And being in my office right now, I got my door closed so I can have my mask off. And, we have stairways that go up and stairways that go down. I think credit to our whole group here that they're really doing a nice job in making this a safe environment. So whatever the protocols that the league agrees on and puts out, we'll be ready to roll. Yeah, we have, yes. We have plans for meetings. You can't have a meeting over 20 people. So whether you are virtual with everybody and that's a possibility, whether you broadcast into each position meeting room for a team meeting or an offensive install, that's certainly possible. So we're kind of working through all that so that we have some options once the players return. I will say this: our guys, we started out with this off season teaching one way, and that's not necessarily how we ended up. And what I mean by that is the coaches have done a really good job of taking the feedback from the players and finding out what works. So early on, we had a lot of taped lectures, if you will, and we were pushing 15-minute, 25-minute videos out to the players for them to watch. Then we pivoted a little bit more to live stuff. Then we pivoted to having the players annotate on their screens. So, for instance, with the offense, AVP would share a play, the quarterback would call the play, and then we'd have 5 guys drawing on the screen to make that play. So just different tools, different ways that we tried like crazy to reach these guys. The coaches did that, but as importantly, the players were so responsive to that. So I think the guys were really yearning for understanding, for getting all the information from this they could, and I was very impressed by that. Not in that meeting, Marla. I think when you get to this point in the off season, whether it's a regular, normal-looking off season, you get to that final team meeting, and guys have their minds on getting ready to get out of that building, whether literally or figuratively in this case. So I had their attention for about 25 minutes, covered all the things I had to cover, and then said, adios, muchachos. Yeah, I think we're looking forward to getting settled here and getting around town as much as we can. Maybe make a trip down the shore, which is driving distance now for us. Undisclosed location, so PJB can't find me. But yeah, we're looking forward to going for the fresh. I'm concerned that you may have a hidden camera in here, because or a bug, because that's actually, I went over that with the offensive staff this morning, just talking about carries and touches and what that looks like. And
it's that Cornell degree.
There you go. So it's definitely on our mind, and we know, having done, been on different teams with different offensive players, sometimes you got a great running back or a great receiver, a great tight end, and there's certainly, you have to be mindful and intentional about how you want to go about that, while understanding that each week calls for a different game plan. So I think we're fortunate enough to have players at each of those levels that can affect the game. But it is definitely on our mind, and how you divvy that pie up and how you design plays. That's definitely something that we're talking about. Yeah, it's a really good question. Again, something that we're discussing. I think we're going to wait to see what the framework of the practice schedule, meeting schedule looks like. But it's definitely something that's on our mind, making sure that we're covering all the things we need to cover, and then being very mindful about how we do that. As it pertains to Jarvis and Odell, I mean, they had 2 very different surgeries. So Odell's free and clear. I mean, he's 100%. He's looking really good. And Jarvis, to his credit, I mean, he's looking great. Some of the videos I've seen of him moving around. So we'll have a plan for them. With Joe and the athletic training staff, we'll make sure that we ramp both of them up appropriately. I think really that remains to be seen. I'd like to get everybody back in the building and get out there at practice and get together before we make that decision. That decision will be made before September 13th. I promise you that. Yeah, I remember a lot from that year. And this is so different because we've had meetings, and we've had lots of meetings. We had 10 weeks worth of meetings. at that moment you had no contact, zero contact with your players. So I feel like this is very different from that regard. I'm confident that the work we did in that 10-week program covered a lot of ground schematically and the X's and O's. And I know the guys have been really working hard, uh, you know, in their workouts. So I understand, and we've talked a lot about that year and some of the things we learned and how we have to be smart when we do get going from a physical standpoint. But I think it's so different in how far along we are having been able to have meetings with our players. No, I don't think so. I think I've been very impressed, like I've said before, with the work he's put in. He's all ears. He's taking everything. Uh, he's taking it all in. I think Alex Van Pelt and the coaching staff are really giving him a lot, and I don't see any limitations with Baker. So he's done a really nice job. And I talked to him actually this morning, and he's raring to go. And hopefully we'll get him back in here and with his teammates and part of that. And you know, part of this with leadership positions like Baker and our players, it's harder, obviously, on Zoom and in a virtual program to build these relationships. So that's certainly something when we get back in the building. It's going to be about understanding your teammates, getting to know your new teammates, and starting to build this team. Yeah, it's definitely something that we're talking about. Definitely something that we want to be smart about. We have the information. We can use sports science to our advantage. In this case, we can use the medical staff. Uh, Injuries are part of the game. Everyone gets that. But as much as we can use the information to our advantage to make sure that we're putting our players in a position to practice safely, is definitely something that we're thinking about right now. Yeah, I thought it was outstanding. I think that's what leadership looks like. Our organization, our ownership group has always taken diversity and social justice to heart. There's so many initiatives that they're involved with over the years. And I just think what Andrew's doing, what this organization is doing, is leading from out in front. And I think it's awesome. Yeah, I told the players when we do get back, we'll have our social justice committee and we'll sit down and continue to be about action and things that we can do in the community. So those are ongoing, but definitely something that when we get back together, it'll be easier for us to make sure that there's action items that we can put into place once we get back together. Yeah, I hope the conversations I'm having with my kids are similar to all the conversations going on in our country, regardless of where you live or where you're from or how you were raised or any of that. I think dialogue is so important. I think our words matter, and I do have young kids, and there are a lot of questions, and a lot of them are hard to answer, and the innocence of young children that just don't understand why somebody would be treated differently because of their skin, and it's so sad that there's an environment out there that needs change, but we need to be a part of it. And I just feel very strongly that we need to leave this place better than we found it, and we need to do our part with this next generation, my kids, their kids. We got to do our part with this next generation and making sure that they're part of a really, really positive amount of progress. And that's something that it's not a one conversation deal. It's not something where you do one thing, you have a conversation, you put that away. It's ongoing. I would say we've done a lot of testing. So there's certain apps that you can use, and the coaches have done various ways of putting the guys on the board, if you will, virtually. So that's how you can gauge the amount that they're learning. Now, as we all know, there's the one major part of learning is doing. So while it's true we've installed a lot of offense and defense and then reinstalled it again and have done a nice job in the classroom, there is definitely an aspect of doing that hasn't occurred yet, but I do believe that we'll have time to do that, and we're at no disadvantage based on the other 32 clubs are in the same equal footing as us. So whatever the rules are, and that's where we're looking forward to getting the players back, where we can continue to teach, continue to build this foundation, and then get on the field, like you mentioned, and have an aspect of doing, because that does really let you sink concepts into your brain once you've physically done them.